Okay. Good evening. It is 7 o'clock. I'm going to call this meeting to order. If you would join me for a moment of silence, please. If you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Mary, if you could do roll call for me.
Erica Connor,
Here.
Mary DeMore here, Joel Frericks, excused for now. Andy Mankey's excused, Art Schneider,
Here.
Vito Schwartz, Craig Verts,
Present.
Jill Berner, here. Cherry Winchucky will be joining us shortly.
Okay, this is an open meeting and has been noted as such. Before we get into citizens' comments, if there are any, we are going to start to invite Ron Beam up.
Hi, Ron. Okay. Is this working?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So many of you may remember Ron. Ron is a valuable community partner for the Mukwonago Area School District, president of Complete Office, and merged with EBI. Am I saying this right, Ron? Close. And if you recall, they furnished our high school renovation project, and not only did they do a great job with that, but also a frequent attendee at our Education Foundation dinner and a donor there as well. We have some very good news tonight. Ron, in addition to the business, he's also a subdivision developer now, and he's developing the Pheasant Run Subdivision on Double X north of Morningstar Golf Course. If you can picture that near the northern part of our border with the Waukesha School District. I can show you on a map later if you wish. In our action items later, we will accept this extremely generous donation, which we hope to use for our building trades class to build a home for the building trades class down the road. But we invited Ron here tonight to share the good news and also to express our gratitude. But I'll let Ron speak first.
Embarked upon this, it's been so successful. I guess you could call it stupid sort of timing, but it's been so successful that it just made sense to reach out to Sean, Mukwonago Schools, and that this subdivision is in your district, and just show our gratitude for all the support over the years, and then just kind of give back to the schools and the community. And my only, again, no restrictions or kind of strings tied to this by any means. The only thing would be somehow we can use it for instructional purposes, great, but it's up to the district to decide what makes sense for you. I get it. You all have a lot of moving parts and pieces. So, but again, I mean, it's been a great success to date. 22 of the 30 lots are sold.
Wow.
And so, again, if you all could accept this before the end of the year, that would be kind of my only request. But anyway, thank you.
We're going to accept that tonight. And hopefully those 22 lots, those are families with children that are building there. Multiple children, we hope. Okay, great.
Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Ron. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing and for being here.
Yeah, on behalf of the district, Ron, we want to thank you and your family. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you very much. And for all your support over the years. Yeah. Have a nice Christmas.
Are there any citizens' comments?
No, he said, I'm sure you know about it. If you like Jerry more than Barry, we can trade.
Do I need to read that when we do it?
If you want to. Your choice. If anybody else here wants to donate some land, you could step up now, please. Thank you.
Okay, so this is going to be a very unpopular comment, but we do not have COVID protocols on the agenda today, and that is what everybody signed up to speak to. The last couple meetings, we've been talking about that we are taking citizens' comments for agendized items. So I'm very sorry to say that none of these are an agenda item for tonight. We don't accept agenda items the day of. They have to be proposed and accepted 10 days prior to a board meeting. Okay, so let me speak to this a little bit. So I will just make this the board president report, even though it's later. There were 3 official requests from 3 different citizens that did ask for COVID testing to be discussed at today's meeting. So what I did is I went to each committee over the last 2 weeks and asked, and I presented it. I said, so this is an official request. I mean, I do have the ability to accept or deny or put it on the agenda or not. Asked the committees, what do you guys think? Do you want to talk about it this month in December? And it was an across the board no. So it's not that we aren't going to talk about it, it's that we're choosing to push it off into the new year. So we've got a lot to do tonight. That's why it wasn't agendized. We are looking at talking about it in either January or February. So that's the explanation for that. This isn't a public hearing, so it's not really the time to just speak.
Your paper there states if the comments over 30 minutes, you'll move on. So I suggest, please, if you could give us 30 minutes collectively to speak. No matter the topic.
Well, but that's not true because we've talked about it it's in the event of public comments exceed 30 minutes, the board may continue with the regular agenda of agendized items. So we have talked about it. We're not talking about COVID tonight though. So citizens' comments are to come to be made on what business we are doing this evening. Well, technically our policy would say that 30 minutes would be 0 this evening because no one is asking to speak on anything that's on the agenda. So there are copies of the agenda at the back table. Did everybody take a peek? I did. You did what?
COVID testing is not a COVID protocol. Tell me what it is. Because I did put in my request.
You made a request, but the request was not granted at the decision of the board. So it is not on the agenda for this month, but we will take it up again in the new year. So that is kind of where we are. I'm sorry, it's an unpopular decision. That's the policy and the bylaws that we have, so we're following that, and we're going to move on with the meeting.
That's not what she's saying. She's asking how is COVID testing not COVID protocol?
On your agenda.
I appreciate the clarified. So that's a personnel committee update. So that was discussed at personnel committee. So that's just showing what was done at the committees over the month. So if you go further down to action items, those are the agendized items that we'll be discussing and making action on for tonight's meeting. Does that help?
Over here, this is what is important to us as a community.
I do understand that, but unless the board wants to change their mind right now as a whole, we've been taking these comments for the last 6 months, and we've been announcing it each time. We are taking citizens' comments that are on the agenda.
The open meetings law says that you can comment about anything. It doesn't have to be on the agenda for open public comment.
So actually, technically, our public meetings are not a hearing, so we don't have to accept it. You don't have the right to participate, but you have the right to be here. So, well, a closed meeting, you simply wouldn't be in the room for a closed meeting. Like later, we'll go into an executive session, which is closed, so you wouldn't even be allowed for that. This is an open meeting where you're here, able to witness us do our business and our work. Well, I'm not really getting any sort of feeling as I look around at the board. It was unanimous by the board in committee to push this discussion off until the new year. So due to each board member is on a committee, and our committees meet publicly on Monday nights all throughout the month, which we are always welcome and invite everybody to come to those. So unfortunately, this is our policy. This is how we do these meetings. I apologize if this is new news to some of you, but I know I have been saying this at our public meetings over the last year. So We are going to move on with our meeting, and we are going to go into consent agenda. I am looking for the approval of school board meeting minutes of November 22nd, 2021, as well as the approval of voucher numbers 135290 to 135528 in the amount of $1 million and change, and receipts for November 2021 totaling $695,000. Do I have any questions or concerns? Hearing none, it is approved by consent. And then we will start our presentations with our student rep report.
All right, so Big Bend students enjoyed the after-school workshop, A Crafty Christmas, sponsored by MASD Community Education. This is the community education program, by the way. The community education program is excited to release its catalog for the upcoming 2022 winter-spring sessions. They are planning many exciting events for the upcoming season. For instance, MASD 5th and 6th graders are fortunate enough to learn to play the ukulele in general music class. The community has a chance to benefit from this curriculum, and the ukulele is owned by the district. Individuals from grade 5 to senior citizens can enroll in a 6-week evening group class for only $25. Adults who sign up can add 1 child for an additional $5. Other new classes that will be offered include needle-felted landscapes, paint like an artist, post-holiday binge boot camp, sign language for both adults and kids, home maintenance, and an evening of astronomy understanding the night sky. Also, many of the class offerings from last season will be repeated.
Moving on to Mukwonago High School, the MHS Orchestra played the national anthem at the Milwaukee Bucks game on December 1st. The students played incredibly well and were able to watch Giannis dunk for the win. On Saturday, December 4th, MHS student government went Christmas shopping to purchase gifts for 7 Greater Waukesha families, which totaled to 20 kids as part of the Waukesha Christmas Council. This is an activity that MHS student government does every year, but this year students were able to increase their donation budget to cover a record number of families. In the International Club, Iyad Tamim and Ahmed Amasha, sorry if I mispronounced that, had their presentations on Egypt, and Lisa Kuhlman had her presentation on the Netherlands.
For Parkview Middle School, in the month of November, PVMS student government worked together to raise money for the Christmas Clearing Council. Student government members were able to purchase raffle tickets for $1 throughout the month, and in total, they sold $426 worth of tickets. At their December 4th all-member meeting in the PVMS cafeteria, 18 lucky raffle tickets were drawn, and those students turned the Parkview administration, Mr. Spielman, Mr. Leibecki, and Mrs. Bodish into human sundaes, which I'm sure Mr. Spielman enjoyed. This was organized by 2 8th grade leadership board members, Catherine W. and Julia S., who turned the money raised into Christmas gifts for a Waukesha County family. In December, Parkview conducted its annual Spelling Bee competition. Congratulations to all of the Spelling Bee participants and finalists. The top 6 finishers were in first, Jack G., in second, Raina J., and in third, Emily L., and the 3 finalists were Ava M., Jenna K., and Juliet R. They will represent Parkview in the upcoming district spelling bee. Our honors students collaborated to add their artistic touch to wooden trees that were auctioned off last weekend during the Midnight Magic celebration. It's always exciting to see how they transform a blank into something festive for the holiday season.
On to Big Bend Elementary. Congrats to the Big Bend Elementary School Spelling Bee finalists Matt K. in first place, Lauren V. in second place, and Addison M. in third place. They will represent Big Bend at the district competition on January 7th with Raymond K. in fourth place as the alternate.
At Clarendon Elementary School, there was a Best Buddies activity, and a special thank you to the LLC Canine Comfort Dog Ministry for spending 2 days with the staff and students at Clarendon Avenue, helping them heal after the Waukesha Parade incident. There is a picture in the report of all of the teachers from Clarendon in baseball jerseys for Jackson. Congratulations to Evelyn in second place, Emma in first place, and Miles in third place, who were the winners in our school-wide spelling bee. These talented students will represent Clarendon in the District B in January. Our annual Glow Run fundraiser was a huge success this year. Each grade level spent 1 hour running 35 laps and having a dance party.
In Eagleville Elementary School, they had a Teacher of the Month, and the Rotary December Teacher of the Month in Eagleville is Anna Mack. Anna is also the LTS at Prairie View Elementary School. In addition to supporting both schools, Anna has taken the lead combining the design process with Eagleville's environmental focus. She is the only LTS in the district to form an innovative partnership with the Mukwonago Community Library. Anna started a partnership to get books to loan with the library and has also worked collaboratively with them on Zentangle 3D printing projects. Each month, their science club hosts a different presenter. This month, they had a STEAM edition. Students created Christmas ornaments and recycled materials led by Kendra Walter, Eagleville parent and library check. Once a month, Eagleville Spanish teacher, Julie Kersey, hosts a lunchtime Spanish club for students. Students have a great time learning more about Spanish culture and language.
At Prairie View Elementary School, the students at Prairie View worked hard to raise money for the Christmas Clearing Council of Waukesha County. The students brought in money for 2 weeks in November. The first week, the students brought in coins for each day of the week. The second week, the students brought in money and voted for an activity for Miss Voss, the principal, to do. The students voted on whether to have Miss Voss dye her hair, get slimed, or bake cookies for the entire school. The winning activity was baking cookies. Miss Voss spent her weekend baking chocolate chip cookies for Prairie View students and staff. The fundraiser ended with the student advisory members taking a trip to Target to purchase all the items for the Waukesha County Christmas Clearing Council. This is a wonderful tradition at Prairie View to help out families in need during the holiday season. The 3rd and 4th grade students had a music concert at Prairie View on December 9th. The students did a fantastic job performing. It was wonderful to have parents back in the building to watch the show. A big thank you goes out to the 3rd and 4th grade students, teachers, and Mr. Robertson, the general music teacher, for all the hard work that went into making this a successful event.
The Rolling Hills Student Council pallet tree was designed by Delilah and Asher Welsh, Nyla Fallick, and Mrs. O'Connor, Grandma, and Mrs. Falk. Students decided to design a tree showcasing animal species found in Wisconsin to support their study of interconnectedness of humans and other species. Their work won them a ribbon in the Education Division during Midnight Magic. On Saturday, December 4th, student council members helped shop for families that Rolling Hills adopted through the Christmas Clearing Council of Waukesha County. Several students and staff traveled to Waukesha Target on Sunset Drive to do the shopping. Their collections took place from November 9th to November 11th. They were able to raise an unbelievable amount of over $4,000 via their Adopt a Family campaign. This amount enabled Rolling Hills to purchase clothing and toys for the children, as well as gift cards for each family to make their holidays merry. Additionally, thank you to this Target store for giving us an additional 10% off discount on all of these purchases.
During the week of December 13th through the 15th, Section held Santa's Corner. This event is a long-standing tradition at Section that the students look forward to every year. During Santa's Corner, students have the opportunity to shop for gifts for family and friends. This year, Section welcomed back parents and community volunteers to help run the event. Excitement filled the air while students checked their lists twice and shopped for holiday gifts. In December, the Section 6th grade class held a fundraiser to raise money for the end-of-the-year field trip to Lake Geneva. 2 candygram options were offered for the December sale, a cookie gram and a candy cane gram. The 6th grade students were responsible for creating the candygrams, filling orders, and distributing them to classrooms. This was a very successful fundraiser for the 6th grade class. A special thank you to E&S Sweets in Mukwonago for continually working with Section to provide the needed candy and cookies. Their support is greatly appreciated.
Great, thank you. Okay, and then we have a district communication presentation.
Yes, Ben is here. If you recall, in September when we had a board work session, you had requested some more information on how the district communicates with our various different stakeholders. And so Ben's here to give a presentation on that tonight.
Thanks, Sean. I've prepared a memo that's in your packet, if you had a chance to take a look at it, of some of the external communications that we do with our families and with the community. So I'll just touch on those here, and then I'll be able to answer any questions you may have. So I've outlined the 6 pieces that are probably most critical to what we do to communicate with our families and with the community. First on that list is the Infinite Campus Messenger, sometimes also known as Shout Points. That is a tool that is embedded within our student information system or within our Infinite Campus system. It is probably the most powerful tool we have because it's direct to parents. We can use email, we can use text, we can use phone messaging as well. It's a great tool to allow us to send very timely notifications in bulk or in mass. It is something that families, in order to be able to receive, need to be signed up for and need to have a email address on file with us. They also need to be opted into that. So each year we opt families in. Occasionally we get concerns from family members where they've opted out and they're not getting communications. But that is something where they have to opt in, essentially receive those notifications annually. And so that's probably one of our most effective and efficient means of communicating. One of the points on there I would make is that it's not something that can be sent out to the community. So every now and then we get requests, can community members receive Infinite Campus communications? And no, you basically have to be a parent in the community, or a parent in the district, I should say, to receive those messages. The second one on the list that we use is, of course, our district website. That's probably our most powerful and visible external or outward-facing tool. That is a critical platform that's used by students and staff alike, as well as families in the community. It was most recently redesigned in 2019, and last I checked a couple weeks ago, we were averaging about 3,000 views per weekday, 3,000 unique views per weekday. Now, a lot of those are students, mind you. Students use that as a landing page. Teachers have resources on our website for students to use. Parents also use that pretty frequently as well as the landing page to go to Infinite Campus or to the parent portal. So before you think, oh, 3,000 views, that's a lot for a district website. A lot of those are internal as well. The website has a whole suite of tools that are available with a lot of static information pages, a lot of dynamic pages as well, like our board agendas and minutes as well, and things like that, targeted to our community members, to our parents, prospective parents, and others out in the community as well. The next item on the list that I would highlight would be our key news for families, and that's an item that goes out about every other week during the school year. During the summer, that tool goes out a little less frequently. That's an electronic district newsletter that is sent out via email to families, but also on our website and sent out via district social media accounts. Typically, we send that out Thursdays at 5 p.m. Sometimes it goes live on the website a little bit earlier than that. Basically, the purpose of Key News for Families is to hit important and timely district news to our families. Key News used to only be available to in-district families, just because we sent it out via Shout Point Messenger, the Infinite Campus Messenger. But over the years, I got feedback from community members, organizations, that they wanted their information on there, and they also wanted to see some of the publicly facing things that we were putting out there. So we made a shift a few years ago to include that on our website, and also pretty up the tool a little bit via email. So it has a web-based feature to it now, and it's also available via social media. This year, Key News has been averaging about 3,200 views per issue, which is a pretty reasonable number. That you're not going to get 100% of our families viewing that. It's one of the nice things about the email that we send out to go with Key News is that we have a little digest version. So topics that are of interest to families, they can click in and they can take a look at it. There's nothing in that issue that interests them at that point. They can just discard the email and move on with their business and check it out again in 2 weeks. Interestingly enough, pre-pandemic, we were averaging about a little under 2,000 views. So really, we've seen a response to using Key News, not necessarily pandemic-related information. I don't want to make that point, but I think families have begun to see that as a little bit more valuable resource and have checked that out a little bit more regularly as well. So happy with that tool. One of the other tools I want to talk about is the Triad, and that's a printed district newsletter that goes out 3 times per year. Usually we send that out in November, around late February and June-ish, depending on what we've got going on and what we want to spotlight. That is a newsletter that is sent to all district residents, and it's really our best direct connection to non-families in the community. Mukwonago we're kind of in a challenging place where it's tough to get our messaging out. We don't get a lot of coverage from the Milwaukee media. The Freemen, we're thrilled for what we're able to get, but again, they've got priorities that are a little bit more centrally located to Waukesha and Brookfield. So the Triad is really one of the best tools that we have for reaching out and sharing great news and good news about what's going on in the district with non-families in our community. Each edition, we have a feature story. Occasionally, we'll have additional stories depending on what we're looking to spotlight. We'll have a superintendent's column written by Sean. We have a news bites section, which are shorter, 75 to 150 word types of pieces that are highlighting some positive news in the district, as well as an athletics and activities corner, which shows photographs and of things going on in the district, and then our alumni spotlight. And so the Triad is also shared digitally on our website. In fact, all current and past editions are out there as well. Generally, we do about 8 pages on the Triad, although in recent times we've expanded that from time to time to 12, depending on the content we have. In fact, the February one coming up, I think we're leaning towards a 12-page edition just because we have some other things that we would like to be able to share. That goes out to 16,000 residences in the community. We also distribute about another 200 via our schools. And again, that goes out to all district residences, not businesses, mind you, just the residences in the community. Another tool I want to spotlight is our social media. The district maintains Facebook and Twitter accounts, which at the current time are pretty much used for informational updates to families and to provide updates. Each district school also has a Facebook account that they update pretty regularly, and all schools have Twitter accounts as well. Now, our secondary schools make more use of Twitter than our elementary buildings do, primarily because that they have found that our secondary families and students are a little bit more involved in Twitter. So they're going to put their time and energy where their families generally are. School sites, school social media sites are maintained by our principals or by designees, so library tech specialists, front offices, admin assistants, clerks. They basically share those responsibilities, and our school Facebook pages, Facebook and Twitter pages do a great job of sharing a lot of the really cool things that are going on in each building. And last but not least, we have school-based communications, which I'd be really remiss in sharing. I think what we see in this community and in others are that families really love their schools, and the school-based communities always get a lot of traction, school-based communications always get a lot of traction with their communications. So I mentioned the social media, but each school maintains their own website, which is hosted within our district website. In addition, all of our elementary schools send out a monthly electronic newsletter. That used to be, I think they also send it out paper in many cases as well, but they still send it out electronically. Parkview also sends one out every other week, and the high school has recently started their own currently monthly newsletter that's digital as well. And so again, our school-based communications are a really critical part of what we do, and parents really take a look for those monthly newsletters as well. So we have a lot of different tools that we use to reach out to our community members. A lot of this is based off of the strategic plan survey that we did a couple of years ago, where we did ask some communications questions, and taking a look at growing those pieces as well. Went through those kind of quickly. Questions I can answer for you.
So the app is no longer?
Yes, the app is still a thing.
Oh, it is.
I did not mention that on there. The app is basically a container or a tool that you can use to access a lot of the different things I just mentioned. Okay. It's not its own unique piece necessarily. It's just a quick and easy way to access a lot of that on your device.
And then do we have a preferred method of communication for the groups inside schools? So like athletics, like how they communicate, because I feel like I'm required to download 8 different apps for every different activity. So do we have one that we can centralize with, or we prefer?
Oh, Erica, you just talked about my white whale, I think, and that's kind of getting our communications for all of our disparate groups sort of coordinated. It is a challenge right now. They each have their own separate thing. One of the challenges that we also find is a lot of them have their own websites, which are not affiliated directly with our school website. I understand why they do that. You know, there's a lot of simplicity. It's a lot easier for them to update in a timely fashion rather than going into our district website and hosting that page. But it does come with some challenges as well, namely that if there's an issue that has to be corrected timely fashion, I don't have access to it. We had a few years ago where we had a staffing issue with somebody listed on an athletics page that was no longer employed, and we had to quickly go about removing them, and unfortunately, I couldn't be the one that go in and did that because it was a non-district page. So we have a lot of different activities. I can really empathize with that issue, but unfortunately, we don't have a quick solution to that at present.
Is that a policy we need to work on? That maybe it's across the board, keeping everybody on an even playing field, and parents a lot happier because they're not downloading 10 apps?
I think it's a policy worth exploring. How's
Okay.
that for an answer? I don't know. I think it's above my pay grade to say yes, do that, but
No, we can
I
have
think
that
it's worth
discussion.
exploring.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, it's,
What I'll do is I'll take a look at what other districts do with regards to that too. I think
Okay.
that's a great
Thank you.
question.
it's just with the websites, a lot of PTOs have problems getting things out there and waiting for you to give it the blessing.
Well, so each school has their own PTO, PTG page, which their LTSs in the buildings would be able to monitor and maintain. I don't make all those updates. That would be all I would do. But I will admit that the website platform that we use, if you're not somebody that uses it regularly, isn't super easy to maintain. It does require some training, and so our PTOs, for example, that's not their favorite tool to use. Our coaches, particularly those who are not full-time district employees, it's tough for them to learn how to use that as well. So that's part of why they go that route. But it's certainly worth exploring, putting something in place to maybe bring some of those in-house, or maybe exploring another platform that we could use for websites, for example, to keep things simple.
Okay.
Where also we would have some district control over that as well.
Yeah.
Any other questions for Ben?
On for your key news, you said community can receive those. Do you have to sign up?
So unfortunately, I can't keep a list, an email list, and so what I've advised community members when they reach out to me is check our social media on Thursdays and check the website. I point them to those two pieces. So they can't actively get those emails received to them because community members who do not have kids in the district cannot have contact information in our student information system. That makes sense?
No, it doesn't, because I've been trying as a board member for years to be able to get some of these things, and I have an address that has a board address, so.
Yeah, so our student information system only contains students, basically, and parent contacts. We are unable to add a mailing list of community members. Now, one of the changes that I'm exploring in the long term with Key News is to go to a different tool that would allow me to email that out to a mailing list. Much like we've started to do with our community education program, for example. I haven't gotten there yet with that piece, but like I said, we've made it publicly accessible on our website, and it goes out on social media. About the same time it hits our families' mailboxes.
So an exact copy of it is posted somewhere, is that what you're saying?
Yep. Yeah, if you go into our website and you go under district,
Yep.
I forget which column it is underneath there, but you will see under kind of a list of communications tools that we have. So Triad's one of them, and Key News is there.
Okay.
And every edition of Key News should be updated. If for whatever reason you see that it hasn't been updated, then give me a holler and I'm going to find out what's going on.
Oh.
But yeah, we do update that, in the exact same version that goes to families goes to the
At the same
website.
time?
Um,
That if a parent reads their key news and they call me up and say, this is what was in key news, and I go, oh, it's not here for me to see yet, that's
That would be another
vision.
reason to call me, because that shouldn't happen. Yeah,
Okay.
it should be the exact same. It's all coded from the very same web-based website that we use. And I do update that at about the same time. In fact, the website's usually updated just a little bit before it gets emailed out to families, just because it's hard to set an automatic update on that web page. So
Okay,
web
so-
page actually gets updated a little bit earlier before it goes out to email.
Okay, so tell me again, because I didn't understand what you said then, because I had understood that the Infinite Campus, so the shout points, could not go out, but that when you got down to key news, you said, yes, this one can, and now you're saying, no,
Got
this
it.
one can't. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
So shout points, or what we used to call shout points, but really it's Campus Messenger, is it's an email service that we use. Now, there's more to it than that. We can send text messages and voice messages. You know, if we have a snow closing, we'll send a voice message out to families. It just contains the link to Key News. Key News is on a web-based tool that we use. And so that web-based tool is publicly available to anybody that wants to view it. We send it in an email to families. We send that link to families. But that same link goes on the website where we host Key News, and that same link goes on social media. The link all points to the same Key News. It's just we distribute it in a variety of different ways.
okay.
Anybody else? All right, Ben, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll go into our committee reports. We'll start with student learning.
Yeah, I can do the student
Stephanie
learning
is
update. Most of what we had come from student learning is actually an action item. So the only thing that I have to update on this part of it would be that we approved the minutes from the last meeting, and we looked at Neola policy reviews, and there were no changes suggested from that. Everything else will come up during action items.
All right, thank you. And then personnel committee update.
We went over the union recertification election, and they were recertified. We are discussing proceeding with a sick bank for the staff. We're looking at different options for that. And we had a COVID testing update, which was really just, we're going with a different, what do you call it, like
A lab.
a lab partner
Right, so we moved from Accelerated Labs to Summit.
to Summit. And the rest is on action.
Okay, and then finance and facility committee.
We had our monthly meeting at Prairie View Elementary. We are touring all the schools as at committee meetings to understand capital improvements or requests, and we had a tour by the principal, and she gave us updates on what her needs and wants are. This is all incorporated into the presentation by Bray that they make at every meeting that is updated on a master plan that ultimately we will be reviewing probably at the end of first quarter after we get our population study back, which will tie into 10-year capital plan and use of how we're spending money and how to make changes in schools as needed. And the 10-year capital plan is an action item tonight, so Tom will speak to that. We also reviewed cost for 4K, bringing in additional class of about 20 students to Big Bend Elementary. And Finance Committee requested a comparison of bringing it in-house as opposed to using a partner site, and that cost is about $45,000 relative to a partner site of about $56,000. So that was something that we asked for, and he gave us the information. ESSER plan update is handled at every single meeting. There are 3 levels of ESSER funding. Am I right about that, Tom? We're probably in the middle of number 2. There's still a lot of questions about how the funds in number 3 will be distributed. Some of these funds are restricted, some of them are not, tied to academic recovery, but Tom manages that along with the administration on a monthly basis, and he reports to us on how we're progressing and what actions we need to take, if any. And then we had an ongoing update on a transportation review, which is some requests on changing some busing for some subdivisions around the high school, and that is continuing, and I believe we're not finalized yet on where we're headed with this, but we are exploring the requests and options, and we'll address it at future meeting as necessary. And then Neola policy reviews, there were nothing material to report on there, and the rest of the items are action items.
Okay, thank you. We will move right into action items then. Appointments, resignations, and retirements.
So Stephen's not here tonight, so I'll do that. So we have one resignation, Adam Brostowitz. guidance counselor at Clarendon, and also Steve Rick, English teacher at Mukwonago High School. That is a retirement. And I do want to make sure that we applaud Steve for his many years of service as an English teacher at Mukwonago High School. In addition to that, you may know Steve. He was forensics coach for us. He helps out with driver education, so for many of our students behind the wheel instruction. He developed the Bible as Literature course that we have at Mukwonago High School. That elective is very popular. So he'll be retiring at the end of this school year, and we want to thank him for his many years of wonderful service.
I would like to make a motion, we approve these resignations and retirements.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion?
Just what is the plan for replacing school counselor? Do you know if that's on track?
Yep, so we're working on that right now, and so we can have more details in executive session.
Sounds good.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Next, we have the MHS Sociology textbook approval.
Yes, so Student Learning Committee looked at textbook that's being recommended by the teacher and myself for the sociology textbook approval. We're recommending that we do Intro to Sociology, the second edition, by OpenStax to a total of $2,243, and that would be a 10-year license.
I will make a motion for that approval.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion?
Stephanie, I know critical race theory has been a big talking point. We reviewed this, and we're good with that, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. This is the class, let me remind you, where it is addressed and taught as a theory, but there were no concerns in the textbook. The committee had that beforehand, and
This was the one where their third edition came out, and we didn't like it, so we stuck with the one that they didn't monkey up, so.
Thank you.
We were given access to the second and third edition. We looked over them, read them. It's a very distinct difference, so we decided to just not go current. We stayed with the second edition. Yeah. Okay, any other question or discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I'm sorry, who had the second on that?
Jill.
Jill did, thank you.
And next, our 10-year capital improvement plan.
Okay, so Andy Wagner came by at the Finance Committee meeting last week. You want to come up here, Andy? All right. So as an annual piece that we do in our review of our buildings, we make a 10-year capital plan. Andy presented that plan last Monday night when we were at Prairie View. This plan is something that, like I said, we update every year. Any project that's listed on the 10-year capital plan is eligible to be paid for with Fund 46 funds. So when we're anticipating projects, we list them on there, and then they're eligible to be paid with those funds that we set aside at the end of any school year that are surplus funds, and we dedicate those towards future building projects. Andy, anything to add?
Really, I don't. It was displayed to you in your notes, what we have as far as an outline, and obviously being a 10-year capital plan, it's spread out for what we have for projects coming forward. Obviously, we more so concentrate what's going on with this upcoming year, and part of what we have coming in this upcoming year, we use leftover budgeted funds as well as Fund 46 and Fund 41 to pay for that. I did make a little change in the presentation this year for you in your notes, that on the colored cells, it shows anything that may have been pushed to the future. So when we do these 10-year capital plans, we are assessing everything. We're not just doing everything on the year that it comes due. There are items on there just to kind of keep track of them for over time, and there's other items that come due that need to be done. So in this next year, we have roughly $1.6 million of improvements done in a capital fashion. The largest item that's on there is Rolling Hills pavement project, which would be a new parking lot and a new playground. And other than that, I anticipate we'll be well under budget that's presented.
I will make a motion that we approve the 10-year capital plan. I have Cherry a second. Any other questions or discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The WASB resolutions.
So as you know, the Wisconsin Association of School Boards Convention is in January. And so each December, we take a look at the resolutions, and the board gives directions to our WASB delegate convention delegate, which is Erica, on which resolutions she should support at that delegate assembly, which is on January 19th this year. So the committees reviewed each of the 10 resolutions, and all of them were recommended for support except 22-07. So we're looking for a motion.
I'll make a motion that we support the resolutions as determined by the individual committees. For Erica to present.
So we have a motion by Jill, a second by Vito. Any questions or discussion?
I have a question. The WASB did send a letter to the national NASB, but I don't know if that's clear that we're not supporting the NASB. Is that correct?
Yeah,
So in the policies and the resolutions, they actually removed NASB from all of their resolutions. So it would no longer, in approval of these, it would no longer even be in their handbook.
Okay.
Sean, you had said
Completely removed
that they're out, right?
They're out.
That's correct.
Yeah.
So Wisconsin Association of
part of-
School Board is no longer part of supporting any part of the National Association of School Board.
Thank you.
They have broke ties.
Got it.
Any other questions about the delegate proposals? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We have the MHS and PVMS new course approvals and course revisions for 22-23.
So once again, in December, we took a look at the Student Learning Committee. New courses that are being suggested. There was actually only one new course that we need to approve tonight coming out of the high school. A computer science course called Device Configuration and Management that actually will be replacing operating systems and servers. And that is happening just simply because students are coming with much more computer science knowledge because of our curriculum at the middle school and our PLTW program at the elementary school. And so they're needing to up their game a little bit and change some things for the high school curriculum. And so that's the only new course. The other thing that we did that doesn't require action items, but I will represent in the fall, would be course revisions that are going to happen through our middle school business classes. They're going to do some revision work for the same reason, classes that are kind of fading out because of things we're doing with elementary students.
I'll make that motion.
Okay, I have a motion by Art.
I'll second. Oh,
Cherry can take the second. Any other questions for Stephanie or discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Live streaming through Just a Game Live.
All right, at the Finance Committee last Monday, I brought forward a proposal to talk, for the board to consider our endeavor into live streaming our athletic events. So we use this platform, Just a Game Live, to stream our football game versus Muskego High School during the playoffs, and it was very profitable for us. So other neighboring school districts such as Arrowhead and Muskego use this platform, and ultimately this is our opportunity to stream our games live for a fee. So the cost to work with Just a Game Live has an annual fee, but they're going to waive that annual fee so long as we commit to being a beta tester for online ticket sales. So our fans could buy their tickets in advance online, or they could stream our games, our varsity games live. The proposal here is to use Just a Game Live for all of our games, but we would not charge for our freshman games or our JV games. We would charge just for our varsity games. So this is an effort, or I guess the proposal here is to try this out for a year, see how this goes throughout the rest of the school year. And if it's working well, we'll continue. If not, we'll pivot back to YouTube.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Is that free just for 1 year?
Yeah, yep. So I think the annual fee there, I'm sorry, let me dig this up here. I think it's about $2,000, yep. So in our Muskego game alone, we made $4,000 off of that one game. So it's a revenue stream we never would have realized before unless we went this route. We don't have the capabilities to stream and collect, so this kind of alleviates a lot of work and gives us an opportunity to generate additional revenues for
Family members out of state can watch basketball, or is wrestling part of this too? And
every varsity
band, you can
sport.
use for the band or concerts?
We could
Can we do concerts?
we could do anything, literally anything.
So
Your call.
That's what my question was. What are our limitations, like robotics? Their competitions are pretty intense.
If we think that there's value to that, we can do that. If you want to stream for free and you give us that direction on some of these events, we can do that. So, nonetheless, this platform gives us the opportunity to do robotics or music concerts, choir performances, whatever.
So this would displace our live stream YouTube channel.
Yes,
Which wasn't very good, I will say.
and we can bring in commentators as well as a part of this. I know Craig
Craig.
would probably
Craig voluntold.
like to do that.
Negative, thank you.
And then Tom, does Andy manage this?
Uh,
His staff or someone on his staff manage it, so nothing, or is it,
Zach Ortiz, who's
Okay.
there's Zach. Hey,
oh, Zach, Zach's the
waving at-
man, okay.
Zach is our community program supervisor. He does a lot of our outreach and working with outside groups that aren't necessarily school related. So outside groups that come into our facilities for athletic events or whatever. Zach does also some academic things like setting up for school board meetings and making sure it's getting streamed right now. So Zach has taken the lead on these efforts. This is Zach's good work.
Can we do multiple things? If there's a tennis match and a varsity game, or
Yep.
how many?
Ooh,
Wow.
nice.
So the answer, which was not into the microphones, was up to 10 things at the same time for those watching online. And we will not sell tickets to school board meetings that are live streamed, I'm assuming.
Probably not,
We
but
might have to give
up to you.
gifts instead, I think.
I'd like to give a shout out to Zach, the
Yep.
last personal finance in the gym with educators and Citizens Bank, with all the kids went around and had a budget to follow. Zach did a great job. Smooth, it was great. So,
Thanks. Any other comments about this?
No, I just think it's important that we make sure that all of our activities have an opportunity and it's clearly communicated from music to whatever, so it's not just a sports bonus.
Well, because I do think that some of us have been trained to use the YouTube live stream. Like all of the music concerts are very easily, like you get an alert, hey, the concert started, like if you've subscribed to that page. So we have many people that were trained, so I don't know if we can, for that first year, can we do both on the free ones? I don't know, until we transition. I mean, you guys can figure that
then we'll
out.
put on the
Is
shout out.
communication to the public.
Then I'll put down the shout out
He'll do all that stuff.
on the show.
Ben's in charge.
All right, anything else?
Community building.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. 4K sites for the 22-23 school year and contract renewals.
So the next thing out of Student Learning Committee is we did go over that we were renewing contracts for all of our current 4K community partner sites. But at Student Learning Committee, I had also discussed with the group that we are seeing a larger number than usual of students coming into our 4K program next year with IEPs that we know of already. And because of that and growing numbers, we are recommending for 1 year, just for the 22 and 23 school year, that we add an AM site for 20 kids at Big Bend, so we can service students better that we know are coming. It's easier to service some of our students with their needs if they are on site at one of our schools. Prairie View cannot have all 12 students, and so we are recommending an AM class at Big Bend. Tom then went over budgetary information at finance and facilities.
Stephanie, what if you have over 20? Is it, you just limited at 20, is that correct?
Correct. None of our sites go over 20. We have a 10-to-1 ratio at the 4K sites.
Do we still have an early childhood at Clarendon as well?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so these kids don't qualify for the early childhood, or they just, we don't
Well,
have
they're going
capacity?
they're going into 4K.
Well, that starts at 3. So wouldn't they already be if they have an IEP and needs when they,
So some of those students are in our early childhood program, some are not. Some are
Okay.
coming from being in home and weren't sent, haven't been sent yet, or they're coming outside.
will they be evaluated to see if they belong in the early childhood program? Yes?
Yes.
So Christine is,
Definitely, yeah.
Christine's making her way up here
Yep,
to
he's here.
to answer some of these
Shaking her head, yes.
questions.
So do I need a motion and a second for this first before we continue discussion?
So I'll make a motion.
Okay. I have a
Second.
motion. I have a motion and a second. Okay.
So we did have several 3-year-olds this year that came up for a referral. So we get a notification of a birth to 3 referral, and then our school psychs and our special education staff have been working with a dozen 3-year-olds. Have been. I think a lot of it is coming potentially from the pandemic. Some kids weren't. They really weren't out and about when things were shut down. And so I don't know if that's where the referrals are coming from, but we are seeing a large number of referrals in general, but specifically in the 3-year-old age range.
Okay.
So right now, we currently service our 3-year-olds at our partner sites too, but with the sheer number of students right now, it's hard for our staff to keep going between several different sites. So we try to create hubs, and so being in Big Bend would be a really great benefit for us.
Can we use some of the ESSER funds for that, because it's possibly because of the pandemic?
To use the ESSER funds for,
The 1 year
4K
extra
program?
class, because it's, because if the feeling is that these kids were not socialized, it is a direct result of that.
then yes, yes.
Any other questions for Stephanie and Christine? Did you have something else to share, Christine?
I did not.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries.
I'm sorry, who had the motion and the second on that?
Mary and Jill.
Thank you.
Fundraiser class community? Is that what it's
Yes,
called?
that's right.
Okay.
It's like a class community, but class community. So we, as a district, currently we don't have an online platform. If we were to fundraise for whatever reason, our sports teams do it quite commonly. Anything you might see a GoFundMe for at times.
Like graduation, maybe, if we were funding for that.
You name it, Art. You pick the topic and we could fundraise for it at times. So Snap Raise is a commonly used online platform, but those platforms can take anywhere from 20 to 30% of what's donated. So the money as it's donated gets intercepted a little bit by these other platforms. Class Community is a local company based out of Menominee Falls that works with the 35 Wisconsin school districts. Their fees are much lower. They presented us with 2 options. This online fundraiser is something that our athletic teams or any piece of our school district, our performing arts, you name it, would be able to benefit from this. And this platform would allow us to have an online presence for any of our kids that are fundraising. We as a district could utilize this in other ways that we just traditionally wouldn't be able to or not set up to do right now. So I'm recommending to the school board that we take option 1 that's spelled out in the memo there for a 12-month period, and we see how this goes. Let's give this a try. That's my recommendation.
I'll make that motion.
I second it.
I have a motion and a second. Any other discussion or questions?
I just want to confirm, so when you made this presentation last week, we weren't sure on the GoFundMe, but you have it stated here at 11%. Did we confirm that that's what they take, just for comparison?
So that's the lowest number that I've found through internet research, but
Okay.
I'm told that it's
Higher.
a lot higher than that. So the class community option is the lowest one I'm aware of today.
Yep, okay, just wanted to make sure we were paying attention to the competition.
How long is that contract for?
12 months.
Any other questions or discussion? So would you add to your calendar to update us in 11 months as to whether or not it was used and useful and how much, yeah, stuff like that?
You bet.
All right.
And will we start in January?
Yeah, sure. Well, I mean, we'll sign it tomorrow and get rolling as soon as possible here. So, yeah.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Eagleville Charter Contract.
So the last thing from Student Learning Committee is Colleen Hoyne and Angie Barrios came to Student Learning Committee, and I think they are both here now in case there's any questions, to present the renewal for the Eagleville Charter School. Basically, after reviewing the renewal, they let the committee know that there were two major changes that were made. One is to add the special education services that the board had voted on earlier this year, or actually last year, and then also extending the contract from 3 to 5 years. They explained that early on there were changes happening pretty regularly at Eagleville that made sense to keep that at 3 years. But at this point, there's not a lot of shifts, and so a lot of their attention goes to creating the contract and bringing the group together that could be better spent making sure that we're concentrating on the educational services there. So the recommendation is to go to a 5-year contract.
The Eagleville has been really popular. Is there a limit on number of kids we can have at Eagleville?
The capacity is about 110. Right now we have 101 students.
So at 110, you cut it off pretty much?
That's about what we could fit. There isn't an actual cutoff written into the contract, but that's about the number of students we could fit reasonably with the number of staff we have.
I would like to make a motion we approve this.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Any other questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. And then the
Thanks,
land
guys.
donation that we heard earlier about.
I'd like to make a motion we accept.
I'll second.
So I do have the resolution here. Did you want me to read it to you?
Sure.
It's very long. I could just read the first paragraph if you would like.
I thought Ron and Sean did a great job, but read away.
I don't need to. Whereas the Mukwonago Area School District has been offered the gift of real property, specifically Lot 24 and an undivided fractional interest in Outlots 1 and 2 in Pheasant Run Final Plat, part of the northwest quarter, southeast quarter, and northeast quarter of the northwest quarter of Section 4, Township 5 North, Range 19 East, Village of Vernon, Waukesha County, Wisconsin, by a donor who wishes the property to be used for the benefit of educational programs in the district.
And then we should take a roll call vote on this.
Okay. Do I have a motion and a second?
Yep.
Okay. Do you want to read roll call for us?
Erica?
Yes.
Mary?
Yes.
Joel? Not here. Amy? Andy? Not
Not
here. Art?
Yes.
Vito?
Yes.
Craig?
Yes.
Jill?
Yes.
Jerry, yes.
Okay, motion carries. So thanks again to Ron and Sarah. And then we will go ahead and move into unfinished business with the superintendent report.
So I included the most recent enrollment updates in your packet or on board docs. And as you can see, we are servicing in 4K through 12, 5,076 students, which is up about 66 students from last year at this time, or last year in September, I should say. So we've had an increase in enrollment. Any questions on that? If you want me to come back and bring more information, I'm certainly happy to do so.
This is as of what day? Sorry, I can't.
So I asked Laura to put this together. I think she and Sue Brezovar did it last week sometime, so mid-December.
Okay. Any other questions for Sean on that? Nope.
And then, as you know, we are planning to have graduation at American Family Field on Sunday, June 12th, for the class of 2022. We did want you to be aware of a couple of things. And as you're aware, sometimes working with Miller Park and now American Family Field has presented some challenges. And so we have a couple of them here. And Jim Darren is here tonight, so he can answer any questions that you might have because he is more familiar with the conversations with American Family Field. But they did increase the price for rental. We need you to be aware of that. And they gave us a 4 p.m. starting time.
So, Jim,
Yeah.
I will say, both my kids graduated at AmFam It's a great experience. It's a great venue. I know we deal with the weather here all the time. We were inside last year, which is a
Yes.
problem.
Yes.
Big problem. Number of tickets, Jim, everyone wants to bring 20. And last year we gave them 4, and there was a lot of people grumbling about that, for sure. Go ahead, Jim.
Yeah, I mean, I think it really comes down to the overall cost. It's gone up almost 30% since the last time that we actually held the ceremony there. So I think the discussion needs to center around how we might recover some of those costs, or do we continue to spend some school funds to pay for it? And I wish I could say, we've always, whenever we've had the ceremony at American Family Field, that these are the exact costs and these are the amount of revenue that we bring in with extra tickets, but it really changes from year to year. Sometimes we cover the what we budget for Miller Park, and sometimes we're a few $1,000s short. So,
is it possible to have fundraising with the classes, that senior class, or sponsoring? I mean, there's people that would love to have their business,
Their face
thrown
on
up
big
on
board.
the scoreboard.
Why are you looking at me, Art?
Oh, I mean, you and I mean, it's like, there's no problem with that, so it's like, we should have those opportunities out there. It's for the community as well as the high school.
Yeah.
And the senior class. I mean, businesses like ours would really want to get to those senior parents, especially because, they're our target audience for the future. So there's a lot of businesses like that.
Art, would that be a preference of yours over increasing the additional ticket price?
Yeah, I would like to see, and the classes, they do whatever it takes. I heard a lot about last year's decision. And, if they want to have it there and we need additional fundraising, there's pretty creative people.
So student reps? Oh,
Kayla.
there you go.
There you go.
I was just gonna comment, as part of that class, I do think that we would be willing and want to fundraise for that, because it's something that we really want to do and it's important to us. So if it's important to us, we'll want to find a way to make it happen.
So do you think you'd complain if we raised ticket prices a couple bucks and fundraised? Budget neutral is a big word, right? We try hard.
If that's what it takes, then that's what it is. Because I think it's I've heard it since my freshman year about how the class wants the experience to graduate at what was Miller Park. It is now American Family Field, and unfortunately that wasn't a possibility the last few years, but now that it is again, I think it's something that would be important enough for us to be willing to make compromises. So,
and things like the orchestra playing the national anthem at the Bucks,
yeah,
those tickets weren't cheap, and
Very true.
they went like that, and we could have sold out a lot more.
Yeah.
So,
And just for everybody's reference, since we haven't done it, we will give each graduate 4 free tickets, and then in years past, it's been $10 per ticket for any additional ticket that they've purchased. Some declined to purchase any of them, and we've had other families who have purchased 20 to 30.
I have a question.
You pay $30 for a Brewer ticket, I'm sure,
Yeah, Jim, can you expand at all on any negotiation that took place? Part of me says, where is,
why?
after what they just went through and their record attendance and on and on and on and on, they really need to stick it to the schools for another 30%. So I'm sure you didn't just say, yeah, no problem, we'll pay it. So can you expand
No,
on?
so we'd like you on record for
Yeah.
future
I'm on record,
negotiations with
but
them.
It's crazy.
That was the first thing that we asked is when we saw the total price is, are you sure this is the right quote? Because it was such a significant increase. Their costs have gone up as usual, and some of the things that really caught my eye is just the overall rental of the stadium has gone up significantly. But there's also labor costs that have gone up for them significantly. And I looked at some of the contracts that we signed 5, 6, 7 years ago, and the labor costs that they had documented on the quote for parking lot people, for gate people, for their ushers were $13 to $14 an hour, and that has gone up to $18 or $19 an hour. So that's a big cost increase right there.
Well, we certainly know that story.
Yes.
But I just wanted to know that we asked the questions, which I'm sure we did, and because it's just a little disheartening.
And again, we can take probably some things out of our contract, but
They want the pictures with the sausage.
they do, and it
gotta leave
would
it
be
in.
really nickel and diming us, where it's not going to get us down $8,000.
Right.
Taking out some of those things.
Well, I certainly hope that there's no fine print in that contract that will prevent us from doing the sponsorship like we're trying to do, because that, I think, is a great idea.
Yeah. And I will say, outside of that, there is a possibility that we could move earlier in the day. The other school that's considering has not formally signed their contract either, and may be pulling out. And so we may be able to adjust that time a little bit if 4 p.m.
Do we know how many schools they do this with?
I know traditionally it's been us and Oak Creek. In the last couple of years, they've added others. Franklin did it last year. I believe they added one of the small local colleges in the last couple of years. But as far as high schools, I think it's us, Oak Creek, and last year Franklin.
How did they choose us to go at 4?
We had requested an afternoon start time on the 12th, and so. Yeah, which it was a little bit of a surprise for us to say 4, because when we've done the afternoon in years past, it's been 2 o'clock. We also have done a 10 o'clock graduation ceremony before on a Sunday, which I have probably gotten more criticism over that start time than anything else, because it runs into church service plans at 10 a.m.
People traveling, I'm sure, to see it. I get it.
That's good.
And it will be live streamed, so we're good. Right, Tika?
Thanks, Jim.
Is it just Miller Park, or is like Pfizer?
Yeah, when we checked out some of those, this is actually before Pfizer opened, and because of the doing it right around some other ceremonies, and it was almost as cost prohibitive, I guess, as Miller Park or American Family Field was as well. The thing that really concerned us going down to one of the, whether it's the Milwaukee Arena or whether it's Pfizer, was the lack of parking, especially and accessibility for some of our patrons that would be attending.
So I think what I'm hearing feedback for Jim is that we want to move forward with the American Family Field, exploring opportunities to either fundraise, maybe increase ticket price, but to give them that guidance and allow them to move forward despite the price and the time. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, correct.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Are we prepared to do it if we can't fundraise? If we can't do it with the businesses and stuff, are we prepared to put all the cost either on the district or the kids, families?
Tom says we're prepared. We can take it.
Yeah.
We got this, Tom?
Yep.
Got it.
Word.
This is what they want.
They earned it.
That has
about
always
kids.
gone well throughout all of history. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
Anything else, Sean?
Do you want to go to legislation and correspondence?
Yeah, well, I had one more thing on the superintendent's report, and that was our school safety issue on Friday. And I just wanted to see if you guys had any questions about that. It was a tough day for schools across the state, really across the country. And fortunately, there were no incidents, no issues. We did have a good day on Friday. I was in all 8 of the schools, and it was business as usual. We did have a number of students that stayed home. Their parents chose to keep them home because of concerns, and we completely understand that.
That was 300 out of the high school.
Yeah.
I have that here somewhere.
I think it was
Yes, it
311.
Jim, is that right? About 300 from the high school? Yep, 311. And there's more at the, well, obviously the high school is a bigger school, but a greater percentage of students at the high school, I'm assuming, because there have been more violent acts at high schools.
And there's nothing we can do with the Jib Jab app. What is it again?
TikTok.
Jib jab.
I don't think the jib jab
TikTok.
was the problem.
Greg, even
I
I'm
don't
on
have it, I don't
TikTok.
have it. But there's nothing we can do as far, I mean, no one,
So TikTok actually came out with a statement and said that they had no evidence of any video. And I want to make clear that we had no evidence of a video as well. No administrator saw a video, no student brought forward a video, no parent shared a video with us. That it was rumors about videos threatening violence, or rumors about TikTok challenge encouraging kids to call in a bomb threat or call in some kind of violence.
So there was nothing for them to pull because they couldn't validate.
And pulling it.
That is correct. That's my understanding, I should
I
say.
didn't read that.
Sean, wasn't there some vandalism a couple weeks before this or a month before this on the same?
Jib jab.
TikTok.
So the TikTok challenges, we had talked about that earlier this school year.
Yeah.
Yep, where,
And that's, some of those things did happen?
sure, yes,
So we had to take this as kind of legit that something might happen.
correct. It's frustrating.
But it is also interesting that the vandalism, the bathroom vandalism, was a huge TikTok trend. Like, that was legit, confirmed happening, people taping themselves doing such vandalism, where apparently without proof of this video on TikTok, where does the rumor spread? I don't know, through other forms of social media? I find that interesting.
Yeah, so to be honest, so Friday was the day that the violence was supposed to happen. We didn't learn of it until Wednesday night. We had no notion of it whatsoever. And Wednesday afternoon, evening, Waukesha School District had sent their letter home to parents. And then we spent Wednesday evening and Thursday looking into it. And that's why we sent our letter Thursday night. But pretty much all the districts, and I'm aware of, sent similar letters. Unfortunately, a couple had to call off school because they did get threats, not necessarily related to TikTok, but. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Then I'll move on to correspondence, and I don't have any legislation, but we do want to send a big congratulations to Parkview Middle School music teacher, choir teacher, Lori Wildeman, who was chosen as the 2022 Outstanding Middle School Choral Director by the Wisconsin Choral Directors Association, the WCDA. And so she'll be recognized at the WCDA State Conference on January 15th at 11:45. And actually, our MHS concert choir is also going to perform at that convention, at that conference in January at 9:45. So a lot of great things going on. Hopefully you got to one of our concerts last week. I was at the Festival of Choirs or Carols, the Parkview and High School concert last Thursday. Really did a fantastic job. So congratulations to Lori Wildeman. That's a very well-deserved honor. And then wanted to make sure that we recognize the Mukwonago Education Foundation. We want to thank them for their recent awarding of grants totaling $6,775 to our teaching staff, and I attached a list of grants that they approved. I did mention the Mukwonago Community Education Foundation program, but our students did a great job mentioning that already today. I have a piece of correspondence from Dustin Lehman, our College and Career Readiness Coordinator, about Muck Ready Day at MHS when we get back from break on Wednesday, January 5. And then I just want to say a shout out to our principals because it was mentioned a few times in the student rep report. We are very, very fortunate. We have 8 outstanding principals, and we have a number of associate principals and deans of students who really do a great job. And I was really impressed with, for example, Val Voss doing the cookie baking. And I sent you a video a month or so ago about Andrea Kaplan kissing that goat as a reward for her kids raising that money. Luke Spielman's here. He's going to talk during executive session. There's a picture in the student rep report of him getting slimed. Last Friday when I was at Big Ben, Sean Waller, our principal there, it was again another student reward thing where he was dressed up in a cape and a wig and he had to ride around on this super small bicycle and up and down the hall. So they really do a lot of great things day in and day out in our schools. So shout out to our principals. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. So before we head into executive session, I just want to apologize. I feel bad for those of you who came for citizens' comments. I'm sure it's frustrating and you feel like your voice is not valuable and valued by us, which is completely contrary. We ask every time for people to come and to speak and reply to your emails. It is very valued. We are working towards some consistency in the scheduling of our meetings, so we're just applying that policy. So I do thank you for coming. I do apologize for the frustration. Yeah.
Point out, I didn't get one email all month.
Well, no, we haven't. Well, there haven't been many, but I'm just saying in general, as a board, we do value community input. I think we've been very clear in encouraging that and responding to that. I just wanted to recognize that because I know I'm sure you're feeling like that is so not the case right now. It truly is. We're just trying to abide by the policies that we approve for ourselves.
May I make a comment about that? Wisconsin State Statute, Chapter 19, Section 83, Section 2 says during a period of public comment, under Statute 19.842, a governmental body may discuss any matter raised by the public. It does not have to be agendized.
So that may be state statute, but we as a board have adopted a policy.
You don't have to follow state law.
It's may, not must.
So, correct. Unfortunately, we are able to adopt for ourselves policy that and bylaws that we do abide by. So I do apologize for the frustration.
Where could I find that in your policy that you say that everything that's discussed at the meeting must be on the agenda?
I'm happy to email you the link to that. If you would just leave your name before you go and your email.
I think Sean.
No. So, thank you. That's a good question. There were 3 requests for an agenda item to be added to today's agenda. Sean and I each month put together what that agenda will be. So 10 days prior to the meeting, we would need that request 10 days prior. That does not guarantee that it would be put on the agenda. That is something that based on timing, based on things, other decisions. So the agenda comes out at least 48 hours before the meeting.
Come to a committee meeting.
Okay, so like if you want to address something that is on the agenda for the meeting, like there was a sign-in sheet when you got here today, right here. So you would be able to just sign in your name and the agenda item that you would be speaking to. The process of 10 days prior is if you are asking for something to be added. Correct. However, we take citizens' comments at all of our committee meetings regarding anything that pertains to that particular committee. So each committee chair gets to determine what they take, how many, how long. So it's a far more informal dialogue at our committees where we're able to have more discussion and questions and things like that. So no, those are open public meetings. Every Monday we have, so the first Monday of every month we have Learning Committee. The second Monday of every month we have Personnel, and the third is Finance, and then the fourth we come together to take care of all the action items that come out of our committee meetings for the month. So that is really a great way for you to dialogue, to be part of the discussion, and then here at the full board meeting, the dialogue stays on track with the action items of the agenda.
And
So-
that meeting location changes. So it's not always here. Sometimes it's here, sometimes like the finance, the finance.
But it is on the website,
facilities.
clearly stated each.
They're all small, but depending on what's going on, you're best checking the website.
So currently our finance meetings have been moving locations so we can visit each elementary, middle, and the high school, but personnel and learning are primarily here. They are all primarily here, but that is right on the front page of the website, on the bottom right-hand corner. It has upcoming dates and it'll tell you the time and the place. So, okay.
So we don't have to.
Mark, I will take that one for not responding to you. Last week, the decision was kind of addressed in all of the committees. I do understand your frustration. Our timing is key, the work that we're doing. We do plan out the agendas and when and why we want to talk about things. So there's never a guarantee that it will ever be placed or at the time that you want. We do hope to take it up, though, in the new year. I do apologize. I totally know that's frustrating, but we have a lot of things on the agenda that we need to work on. But we will discuss it in the new year.
Your emails are absolutely noticed, and I think we should bring it up, no doubt. I'll take part of the blame as far as there's just been a lot going on, but you are noticed.
So we are now going to move into executive session if I have a motion and a second for
Make a
that.
motion to go into executive session.
I have a motion from Jill,
Second.
second from Vito. Cherry, if you could roll call us.
Erica,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
Art,